The number one net area has historically always been quite a wet area. It's quite thatchy. We never really do anything basically financially, if I'm honest with you. We cover it up for the run-ups, but sometimes it gets wet underneath. And yes, historically it has been, weeks, a couple of weeks sometimes before it's not been 100% fit. Going on to the net area, what you're about to see over there, other than this system going in, has never been scarified, it's heavily thatched, it's had no drainage in it. It's the run-ups basically, what we use for the run-ups. It's a number one net area, the internationals use it, but on there we thought, do you know what, let's give it a go because there's nothing been ever done to it. So you can't say, oh, it's because the drains are working now, or you can't say it's because you scarified it out heavily, or done this, we've done nothing. No verti draining, nothing. It's never been, literally, it's a run-up area, and the reason we don't do a lot to it is financial, more than anything else. Champions Trophy was June, May the 28th through to June the 23rd, and Matt did explain that it probably will take about 12 weeks to hit its targets, or happily hit its targets. It's still, I'll be quite honest with you, very sceptical, just thought to myself, the lads did a fantastic job who came and do it, they're very respectful of us. In the morning, say when they came, if you'd have stopped them at 10 o'clock and said, oh, the lads can come and bowl on it, you could have bowled on that, because it was just a small golf holes. I mean, if you play golf, you see them all the time on greens and people play on them. I've happily had international players running up on it. And then during the Champions Trophy, again, we cover with sheets, as you've probably seen us do out there. Worst thing you can ever do, which we find, is covering wet. Never cover wet because obviously there's nowhere for it to dry. It's just pointless. Sweats underneath, stays on top. We covered up one night, Thursday just before the Champions Trophy final. India, and which was well documented, were netting on the Saturday morning. England was on the Friday afternoon, and India on the Saturday morning. It rained that night, and one of the players, I didn't see it myself, basically took a photo from the flats that you'll see over there, and for half an hour you couldn't see the ground from there. It rained that heavily. We had 15 mil of rain in half an hour. Now, Mark will tell you, he reckons it would take, bearing in mind the water ran directly underneath the sheets on the bowler's takeoff, which it always does. We know it's going to do it, but it's unfortunate. You're talking probably a good week to get it really firm. Straight away, we came the next morning, rolled the sheets off expecting, trying to explain to England that they're not going to play is never going to be great. And it was fit, it was dry. You are going to get a certain amount that will run off, and you're going to get a certain amount that will dry off. It was dry enough that you could have bowled on that. We took them off at 8 o'clock in the morning, you could have been bowling on that at 10 o'clock. On that area that's wet, I've just put down there over this last few days, well, because it rained as well, I had the sprinklers on in case it didn't rain. We put down probably about 120 to 130 millimetres of water, just by my own eye and knowing what it was like before, and Mark, who's been here since 1989, knows, he reckons it's better than I do, but I say at least 15 mil an hour. That's draining at a place that was at 1 mil an hour. The other thing about it is it hasn't dried out in the holes, you've noticed. We had a really hot spell, well, I think pretty much everybody did for a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and the holes didn't dry out, which Mark spotted straight away, which was quite interesting, because we expected, if I'm honest, them to dry out quite badly. We actually thought if it was working and pulling it through that much, that area would be the area that you'd have a big circle of, and it didn't. It actually stayed pretty true around there. The Category C cricket grounds and your good club cricket grounds that you actually say, well, we've got the covers for the square, but the run-ups are poor. Even if you did it in a localised areas, if you just did your run-ups. If you said to me now we could do it minimal and still do a bit of verti draining, which is £1,000 a year, still do a little bit of scarifying just to make the top a little bit better, then, and you're putting that in, it's going to cost you one hit, then it would definitely, in my mind, if this hadn't got it now, and I've seen what's happened over there, I would be swaying towards putting that in. Again, my guy that looks after the nets, Mark, he basically said it would be a good couple of weeks before it was really fully dry. You could net on it probably a day and a half later, but we were playing, you'd have played 2 or 3 hours after.